I'm Jeff Copolov, Director of Interior Design at Bait Smart. Bait Smart were responsible for both the architecture and the interiors of the club stand for the Victoria Racing Club, and this presentation focuses on the interiors. We were involved in that part of the process from day one of our appointment. Our site was that of the old members' stand from 1924. Significant structural issues, poor outlook, traditional one-way orientation, and outdated and substandard members' facilities meant that the stand from 1924 was beyond its use-by date. Our brief, in the words of Amanda Elliott, the first female chairman of the VRC and our very hands-on client, was for us to create a symbolic building, a building that celebrated the rich heritage of the club, that exemplified the future, and changed the member and guest race day experience forever. But what does it take to do that? And this graph here, over 7 years, graphs Bait Smart's input in hours over time. Our first design pitch prior to our formal appointment was in 2012. And you can see within the graph that there was a lead up of input up to the point of design development and contract documentation administration with its largest input. There was a hiatus period for about a year through 15 and 16, and then we had a very fixed construction period of 20 months, commencing immediately with demolition on the completion of the 2000 Spring Racing Carnival. We had a drop-dead date deadline to open by Carnival of 2018. This process took 55,000 hours work by over 101 Bait Smart staff, and that would be equivalent to 30 years for one person. So it gives some idea of the amount of input. Some key facts and figures, well, we were catering for 30,000 potential members. The building is 18,000 square metres, over 101 metres long, 30 metres high, 14 food and beverage outlets over 5 levels. Some of the key design pillars. Well, it was important that we reflected the heritage of the VRC. In fact, the VRC's history tracks that of colonial settlement in Victoria. The club also reflects social and architectural mores of the time, with many different buildings during that period. Interestingly, Bait Smart's own history runs for a similar period as we were established in 1852. So for us, it was a great honour to work on this, one of Melbourne's iconic institutions. Other key pillars were, of course, creating facilities for the members. We wanted to broaden the base and promote great social interaction for all to enjoy, a much more permeable and transparent facility. The race day experience was fundamental. This is in fact a building to house a spectacle. We wanted good access. We wanted to be able to hear, see and smell the race. Good 270-degree views all around the building, with 360 degrees of circulation as opposed to the old building. We wanted to create a much more enhanced, dynamic and lively sporting experience with great connection both inside and out. Fashion has always been a fundamental part of the race day experience. And in fact, the history of the club also tracks the history of fashion since settlement. Their own archives and images record the history of fashion are now well and truly integrated into the new club stand with photography and painting. Racing is a social and special event occasion, and people love to dress up, a place to see and be seen. And what we wanted to do was create a stand that enhanced that experience and the sense of display. Gardens are also well known to be a great part of Flemington's spring racing experience, and garden and flower beds have been integrated into the building with a wonderful rooftop garden and planter tubs winding their way up through and physically into the building. Some of our key design architectural principles were to create a simple all-white building, a building that was memorable and iconic, that was celebratory, joyful and uplifting, a building that could be read in the round, and very much a neutral shell, allowing people and the venues within to be the focus. Some of our early study models shown here in sketches show some of those principles: the strong horizontal layers, the connection of the interiors both inside and out to the terrace seating, simple white ceiling forms that flowed inside and out, allowing these uninterrupted views with incredibly innovative floor-to-ceiling frameless glass, which in part at key points were curved so that sight lines were not interrupted by mullions. A very open and transparent building, and a highly technically enabled building that allowed service and technology to be seamless from within. And here you see the completed building, which is very much a platform for people, but also an incredible backdrop for the horses, and a shot here in 2018 of the champion Winx. And our sighting, you see the site plan in the round. To the north, a strong connection with its main entrance and betting ring with its bookmakers. To the south, the stand spills out onto the members' lawn, the mounting yard, and the cross view to the finishing line. To the east, there's a bridge allowing members to connect and overlook the parade ring. And to the west, a bridge connects to the adjacent grandstand and to the nearby committee room. This drawing shows in cross-section the overall building of its 5 levels. You can see how it tapers back from the track, allowing wonderful views by a series of layers. To the north side, a much more vertical disposition, and through the centre, over 3 levels, a void with its sweeping grand staircase connecting 3 levels of the stand for connectivity. The top floor is the rooftop garden with its rooftop bar. And some of our planning principles, possibly best shown here on level 1 in beige. The overall circulation is defined not only within all the way around the building, but outside through terraces. One is able to circumnavigate and spill down onto the seating plats and down onto the lawn. A central circulation zone primarily splits the plan into 2 halves. Shown here in blue, our vertical circulation consists of not only the grand void and its sweeping staircase dead centre, but concealed escalators, escape stairs and lifts to give us full vertical connection through the building. Also shown in the deeper core part of the plan are the toilet amenities, shown in green on this plan, and our large array of kitchens, almost 2 per level, are shown here in purple, again buried within the deep core of the footprint, much bigger than would be perceived as you walk around the floor plate, but absolutely seamless, and its connection imperative for a clean and operational success of the building. Shown in orange to the right, the G.H. Mumm champagne bar, which I'll go to in greater detail in a moment, and on the left-hand side, the other venue on this floor being the members' bar. And now, as we arrive in the building, a series of finished photographs. Dead centre on entry on the ground floor, with its slight incline, one's able to look all the way through the building from entry out to the track beyond. The strong green colour of the track and its turf is brought inside through the arrival and feature rugs and carpets custom designed for the space, the grand mark of the VRC logo embossed within that carpet. The void rising up through the full 3 floor levels features with its grand staircase, and to the left and right on this level, 2 of the members' lounges. As one looks down through the stair, you can see the way in which the staircase itself is really like a grand circular catwalk, a great place to be seen and a great place to see others. Our 2 lounges on the ground floor, symmetrical, are curated with a wonderful collection of the archive of artwork, memorabilia and paintings from the VRC's rich tradition. And that imparts a great sense of the club. In fact, above the fireplace here, you see the old drawing of the original grandstand, and those fireplaces really make the place much more welcoming on a winter's race day. Other key elements were the integration of the old stand, a nod to the past in the way in which we took the bottom 3 images show components of the old stand, the benches, the newel posts of the old staircases, which in this instance have been kept and integrated into the new courtyard bar, which is adjacent to the members' lawn. So we really wanted to celebrate and reuse some of those components which were much loved and form a strong history for members. On the ground floor also our bakery, equine themed, a great grab and go place for coffee and croissant. One of our feature venues was the Mumm Bar, And Mum for many years has been a key sponsor of the club. They've had an existing association in the old stand, but here they wanted to make a much grander and more dynamic venue. And for us, it was imperative to understand their brand so that we could create a venue that was appropriate. So a trip to France, as arranged by Mum, was essential. And of course, we were delighted to go to be immersed in their brand and to be immersed in champagne. Well, what did we learn about the brand? It's got a strong tradition of affiliation with sport. It celebrates performance, movement and speed, and has long been associated with Victoria with the Grand Prix and horse racing. This early image board shows the way in which we captured some of that exhilaration and performance, fluid lines infused with energy, inspired sculptural forms and dynamic flows. We wanted to create an experiential journey along the 50-metre long space. And the bottom image shows one of our early sketches of how that plan might be arranged. This early study model, 3D printed, shows the built forms as 3D sculptural elements floating as a series of pavilions within the space. And we borrowed from the brand logo, the red ribbon or cordon rouge, as a key signature visual icon that flows very dynamically through the building and through the fit out, and can be seen very much as a strong visual attract from the turf below. It was an eye-catching element, and the carpet itself was a custom designed element that was in black and white, and that also expressed the sense of flow and movement like a slipstream running through the space. One of the unique aspects of champagne, and what makes it unique to other beverages, is method champenois, the way in which champagne is fermented within the bottle. And here we reinterpreted the traditional timber riddling rack as the back bar element above the wine display and champagne display, and became a key feature for those bars. And one of the things that I found most interesting when I visited the winery in France was reading a handwritten note from Napoleon to the owners of Mum at the time, where he'd written, "You need champagne to celebrate your wins, and like in horse racing, you also need it to celebrate your losses." The Members Bar. The Members Bar is another reinvention of one of the traditional bars within the old stand. It has very much a club-like atmosphere, and here we integrated much of the heritage signage and photography within that interior. The carpets were designed by us and were inspired again by fashion-related textiles, in this instance a houndstooth pattern. The old members' dining room, which was traditionally timber panelled, was reinterpreted in the new club stand as lacquered timber panels, taking many of their wonderful old heritage paintings, oil paintings, taking pride of place on those central walls. You see the flowing white ceiling making its way from inside to out, disengaged from the perimeter glass walls, with its wonderful views of the track, small circular white columns, and here our carpet was inspired by traditional tartan textiles. Straight 6 is a high-energy bistro, featuring a show kitchen and a wonderful wood-fired oven. Its rustic, earthy finishes contrast with some of the more refined finishes of the other venues, and certainly caters for the broad demographic. The BYERLEY, by contrast, is a fine dining restaurant, much softer and sumptuous, and a much more hushed interior, where its delicate pastel tones and floral touches reference the garden setting outside. BLUEGRASS, a hip cocktail bar, much more luxe and fashion-focused in its aesthetic, and here inspired by fashion designers Paul Smith's use of pattern, colour and textile. The rooftop bar takes pride of place. At its narrowest dimension, the multi-purpose venue gives wonderful views to the north and the south overlooking the track, and the outdoor terrace with its 2 outdoor bars is over 1,000 square metres, with extraordinary views along the Strait, the track and Melbourne's wonderful city skyline beyond, and also an incredible place to party. And finally, the helicopter view is fundamental and always envisaged from the start for those final shots of horses going past the finishing post. A great place for the VRC to mark its brand, but also significant in that it is, in fact, for 16 decades, it's the host of the race that stops a nation. And now to my favourite building. Well, I was told that I couldn't pick a building by our own practice, but I'm not very good at following orders, so I'm going to do that anyway. This is ICI House, designed by Bates, Smart and McCutcheon in 1958. Well, why is it relevant to me? I guess it starts because of the fact that I was born the day that building was finished. And I've always been attracted to mid-century modern design. And in fact, my grandfather was an architect and has a rich collection of images that he took on the first open day for that building back in 1958. For many years, Bates Smart and Orica, now a subsidiary of ICI, have hosted open house sessions in the building, and I'm proud to be able to talk today about our building. Why is it also extraordinary? Well, we're still the architects. Orica is still in the building. The building in its time was incredibly innovative. It broke the 130-foot limit, becoming Melbourne's first skyscraper, one of the most significant first glass curtain wall buildings in Australia. It was a humanist building. Not only was its modernism in its streamlined materials, but in its interiors finish, it was very humane and Scandinavian in its overall aesthetic. It put the staff above the executives, with the staff canteen on the top floor and the executive lounge one level below. The garden of the ground plane was given back to the people of Melbourne as a place where everyone could gather. Today, planning for contemporary commercial buildings follows its principles. It has an offset core with clean, open floor plates, open to light to the north and south. From an environmental point of view, it has sun louvers to the north and solid walls to the east and west, exactly how you would plan a modern building today for environmental sensitivity. And it's been the home to Bates Smart for over 22 years. But in keeping with what I was instructed to do, my second favourite building is BHP's old headquarters at 140 William Street, designed by the wonderful Young and Freeman architects. Thanks for listening.